Every bride dreams of the perfect day, and for Olivia Carter this was the moment she had been waiting for her entire life. Her gown was impeccable, the guests were gathered, and the man of her dreams was waiting at the altar. But what no one expected was that the only person who could stop this wedding was the bride's daughter. Just as the priest asks the bride and groom to exchange vows, 7-year-old Sophia crashes the ceremony and makes a revelation that silences the entire audience. Her little heart holds a secret that could destroy everything. But will her mother believe her before it's too late? Stay with us until the end because this story has a twist. You won't believe. I'd love to hear where you're watching from today. If you're enjoying this story, let me know in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow's special episode is one you definitely won't want to miss. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden hue over the sprawling estate of Olivia Carter. The mansion stood tall and proud, adorned with elegant floral arrangements and twinkling fairy lights that promised a fairy tale evening. In the heart of this opulent setting, Olivia was a vision of grace and beauty. Her dark hair was styled in soft waves that framed her face, and the intricate lace of her wedding gown hugged her figure perfectly. She stood in front of the floor-length mirror in her suite, a mix of excitement and anxiety swirling within her. "Mommy, you look like a princess," Sophia exclaimed, her little voice breaking through the momentary silence. The 7-year-old stood at the doorway, her wide eyes filled with admiration. Dressed in a matching frock, Sophia's innocent smile was infectious, but Olivia felt a pang of unease. "Thank you, sweetheart," Olivia replied, kneeling to her daughter's level. "Are you excited for the big day?" Sophia nodded enthusiastically, though her expression quickly shifted, a shadow passing over her features. "Yes, but I don't like him, Mommy." Olivia straightened up, surprised by the sudden change in mood. "Who, darling?" "Nathan." Sophia said softly, crossing her arms as if trying to protect herself from an unseen threat. "He's not nice like you think he is." "Sweetie, Nathan is a wonderful man," Olivia assured her, brushing off the comment. "He's going to take care of us. You just need to give him a chance." Sophia bit her lip, her brows knitting together in concern. "But he's not what he seems. I can feel it." "Olivia," a familiar voice called out, breaking the tension. It was Ethan Reed, her best friend and the best man for the wedding. He stepped into the room, his expression warm but serious. "Are you ready? The guests are starting to arrive." "Almost," Olivia replied, giving Ethan a grateful smile. He always had a way of lightening her mood. "Just doing a final check on my princess here." Ethan knelt beside Sophia, giving her a playful grin. "And how is the most beautiful flower girl in the world doing today?" Sophia's frown faded slightly and she managed a small smile. "I'm okay, but I wish you were the one getting married." A soft chuckle escaped Ethan's lips. "I appreciate that, but I'm quite happy being the best man. Just think of me as your knight in shining armor today, keeping everything safe." Olivia watched the interaction, her heart swelling with affection for both of them. "You two are going to make me cry if you keep this up," she joked, but her voice wavered slightly. "Hey, no tears today," Ethan said, his tone lightening. "Only smiles and laughter. Now let's go out there and show everyone how beautiful this day is going to be." As Olivia stepped out of the room, she felt the weight of the day's expectations pressing down on her. The mansion was bustling with life, laughter, and chatter filled the air, and the scent of flowers and freshly prepared food wafted through the halls. But amidst the joy, an unsettling feeling nagged at her, a whisper in the back of her mind that she couldn't shake. "Mommy," Sophia tugged at her hand, trying to pull her attention away from the distractions. "Can we go outside for a minute?" "Of course, sweetheart," Olivia replied, eager to escape the crowd for a moment. They stepped through the grand doors that led to the garden, where the sun painted everything in warm colors. The beauty of the setting should have calmed her nerves, but instead it only amplified her unease. "See, it's nice out here," Sophia said, spinning around in her dress, her laughter like music. But Olivia's heart sank as she caught sight of Nathan across the garden laughing with some guests. His charm was undeniable, but there was something about the way he interacted with others that raised a red flag in her mind. "Mommy, can I tell you something?" Sophia's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling Olivia back to reality. "Of course, honey, what is it?" Sophia hesitated, her small hands twisting together. "I heard him talking last night. He said things that scared me." "What do you mean?" Olivia asked, kneeling to meet Sophia's gaze. "He was on the phone and he said you trust him. He said that after you sign something there won't be a way back. What does that mean, Mommy?" The color drained from Olivia's face. "Sophia, are you sure you heard him right? Maybe it was just a misunderstanding." "No," Sophia insisted, her voice rising in frustration. "I know what I heard. He's not who you think he is. Mommy." "Sweetheart, I understand you're nervous about today. It's a big change for both of us. But Nathan loves us and he wants to be part of our family." Olivia's voice was firm, but doubt crept in. "But I don't want him to be part of our family if he's a bad guy." Sophia's eyes glistened, with unshed tears. Olivia's heart ached. She wanted to reassure her daughter, but the weight of her own feelings clouded her judgment. "Let's just enjoy today, okay? We can talk more later." Sophia nodded but couldn't hide her disappointment. "Okay," she mumbled, looking down at her feet. As they walked back into the mansion, the atmosphere felt heavier, and Olivia struggled to shake off the sense of dread creeping in. The wedding planner approached her with a clipboard, and Olivia forced a smile, her mind still racing. "Everything is perfect, Olivia. Just a few final touches and we'll be ready to go," the planner chirped, oblivious to the internal turmoil swirling inside her. "Thank you," Olivia managed, her voice lacking its usual warmth. As the minutes ticked by, the garden transformed for the ceremony. Guests were seated and the air buzzed with anticipation. Olivia felt trapped in a whirlwind of emotions, her heart pounding as she made her way down the aisle. The soft strains of music filled the air, but all she could focus on was Nathan standing at the altar, looking dashing in his tailored suit. "Olivia, you're breathtaking," he said, flashing her a charming smile that made her heart flutter, at least for a moment. But in the back of her mind, Sophia's words echoed, words that made her stomach churn. "Thank you," she replied, trying to ignore the nagging sense of doubt. As the ceremony began, Olivia's thoughts drifted back to her daughter. She stole a quick glance at Sophia, who stood at the front with her small bouquet, her eyes wide and apprehensive. There was a tension in the air that Olivia could not ignore. The officiant spoke and everything seemed to blur around her. "Do you, Nathan Hale, take Olivia Carter to be your lawfully wedded wife?" As Nathan prepared to respond, Olivia felt a wave of panic wash over her. The moment felt surreal, like stepping into a dream that was slowly unraveling. Her gaze flickered back to Sophia, who stood still as a statue, her expression serious and intent. "Mommy, don't," Sophia shouted suddenly, her voice cutting through the ceremony like a knife. The world fell silent, every eye turning to the little girl who stood frozen in place. Olivia's heart raced, bewildered and torn. The moment of truth had arrived, and in her heart she knew she had to choose between the man she thought she loved and the daughter she would do anything to protect. In the dim light of the mansion, a sense of foreboding hung in the air. As Olivia Carter paced nervously in her bedroom, the weight of her wedding dress heavy upon her shoulders. The intricate lace and satin felt like a shroud, a reminder of the life she was about to step into with Nathan Hale. As she adjusted the veil, her heart raced, not with excitement, but with an unsettling feeling she couldn't quite shake off. Meanwhile, in the quieter corners of the house, Sophia stood alone in the hallway, her small frame casting a long shadow against the wall. Clutching a piece of paper tightly in her tiny hands, she felt the gravity of the moment pressing down on her. She could hear the distant sounds of laughter and music from the party downstairs, but they felt like echoes from another world, one that she no longer belonged to. Her instincts screamed that something was wrong, and she couldn't ignore them any longer. With determination, Sophia tiptoed down the hall, her heart pounding with fear and resolve. She knew she had to find the truth before it was too late. She had already overheard Nathan's conversation, but she needed proof, something she could show her mother that would make her believe. After all, how could she convince Olivia that her future husband was a fraud? In her young mind, she understood the stakes were high. Her mother's happiness, and perhaps their entire future, depended on her actions. As she reached the door to Nathan's office, she hesitated. Taking a deep breath, she pushed the door slightly ajar, just enough to peek inside. The room was dimly lit, and she could see Nathan sitting at his desk, his back turned to her. He was on the phone, speaking in a low, conspiratorial tone. "Once she signs, we can execute the plan," he said, his voice smooth but laced with an undercurrent of malice. "She trusts me completely. Just wait for my signal. I'll have everything I need, and then, well, it'll be too late for her." Sophia's heart sank as she heard the words. She was right. Nathan was not who he claimed to be. Panic surged through her, but she knew she had to stay quiet. She couldn't let him see her. As she crouched down behind the door, she felt a mix of fear and anger. How could he betray her mother like this? How could he pretend to love her while plotting such a terrible betrayal? Just then the door creaked a little louder than she intended, and Nathan turned slightly, casting a glance towards the entrance. Sophia held her breath, praying he hadn't seen her. He returned to his conversation, but she could sense that the moment of danger was near. She needed to act fast. As Nathan hung up the phone, he leaned back in his chair with a smug expression, as if relishing the impending success of his scheme. Sophia seized her chance and slipped quietly out of the office, her heart racing. She needed to find a way to warn her mother, but how she couldn't just burst in and shout, Olivia would never believe her. Returning to her room, Sophia felt a rush of panic and determination. She grabbed a pen and a piece of paper and began to write furiously, her small handwriting scrawling across the page. "Mom, Nathan is lying. He's planning something bad. Please don't sign anything," she wrote, her hands shaking. She folded the note carefully, deciding that she would hide it in her mother's wedding dress. It was risky, but it was the only way she could think of to get Olivia to see the truth. As the party continued, Sophia felt a sense of urgency. She had to act before it was too late. She tiptoed back to Olivia's room, her heart pounding in her chest. The dress hung elegantly from a mannequin, the light catching the delicate beads and lace. Holding her breath, she slipped the note into the folds of the gown, hoping against hope that her mother would find it in time. After hiding the note, Sophia returned to the living room, but her mind was racing. She couldn't help but feel the weight of the world on her tiny shoulders. What if no one believed her? What if she couldn't stop the wedding? The thought alone made her stomach churn. Later that evening, as the guests chatted and laughed, Olivia stood by the window, her gaze distant. She felt a mix of happiness and anxiety. Everything was supposed to be perfect, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It was as if a dark cloud loomed over her, threatening to ruin the fairy tale she had been dreaming of for so long. "Olivia," called Nathan, breaking her reverie. He approached her with a charming smile, but there was something unsettling in his eyes. "Are you ready for the big day? You look breathtaking." Olivia forced a smile, trying to suppress the gnawing doubt in her heart. "Thank you." "Nathan, I feel a bit overwhelmed, I guess." He stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "It's normal to feel nervous, but I promise you everything is going to be perfect. You and I are meant to be together, you'll see." Just then, Sophia approached them, her little face pale and anxious. "Mom, can I talk to you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Olivia turned to her eyebrows, furrowing with concern. "Of course, sweetheart, what's wrong?" Sophia glanced nervously at Nathan, who was watching her with an inscrutable expression. Can we talk somewhere else?" she insisted, tugging at her mother's sleeve. "Can it wait, honey? We have a lot going on right now," Olivia replied, trying to maintain her composure. "No, it's important." Sophia's voice lifted a hint of desperation breaking through. "Please." Olivia sighed, torn between her daughter's insistence and the man she was about to marry. "All right, let's step outside for a moment," she said, leading Sophia away from Nathan. Once they were out of earshot, Sophia turned to her mother, her eyes wide with urgency. "Mom, you need to listen to me. Nathan is not who he says he is. He's planning something terrible. I overheard him talking on the phone." Olivia's heart sank at her daughter's words. "Sophia, I know you're scared about the wedding, but you need to trust me. Nathan loves us," she said gently, brushing a strand of hair from Sophia's face. "No, Mum, he doesn't. He's lying." Sophia insisted, her voice rising in pitch. I found documents with your name on them, and he was talking about you signing something. He's going to hurt you. Sweetheart, I understand that you're nervous about the changes, but you need to calm down, Olivia replied, trying to soothe her. This is a big day for us. I'm not making this up, Sophia cried, her tears welling up. Please, you have to believe me. Olivia felt her heart break at the sight of her daughter's distress. I want to believe you, but you have to show me proof, she said softly, still not fully understanding the gravity of the situation. I hid a note in your dress, Sophia exclaimed, desperation flooding her voice. You have to read it before... It's too late. Before Olivia could respond, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses drifted from inside the house, and the moment felt lost. Just then Nathan appeared at the doorway, his charm intact, but his gaze sharp. Everything all right out here? He asked, feigning concern. Yes, everything is fine, Olivia replied, forcing a smile. But inside doubt crept in, gnawing at her confidence. As they returned to the festivities, Sophia's heart raced. She knew she had done all she could, but would it be enough? The clock was ticking, and the wedding was drawing closer. She could only hope that her mother would find her note in time to understand the truth about Nathan Hale. As the sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the manicured gardens, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Olivia Carter stood at the entrance of the garden, the delicate lace of her wedding dress catching the breeze, her heart racing with excitement. She had dreamed of this day for so long, a day to finally step into a new chapter of her life, one filled with love and hope. Her eyes sparkled as she caught sight of Nathan Hale waiting at the altar, his handsome features radiant under the soft glow of the setting sun. However, in the shadows of the garden, a different scene was unfolding. Sophia, her 7-year-old daughter, watched from behind a grand oak tree, her small frame trembling with unease. She clutched the hem of her mother's wedding dress, her heart heavy with the weight of her secret. With wide, fearful eyes, she observed Nathan, noting the way he smiled at the guests. His charm felt rehearsed, almost mechanical. "Mama," Sophia whispered, her voice barely audible above the soft rustle of leaves. "I don't like him." "Sweetheart, I know this is all very new, but Nathan loves us," Olivia replied gently, trying to soothe her daughter's worries. "He's going to be a wonderful stepdad." Sophia furrowed her brow, pushing the words she had overheard earlier from her mind. She had heard Nathan's voice on the phone, the cold, calculating tone that sent chills down her spine. "He's... lying, Mama, I heard him. He was talking about you, about signing something. Sweetie, it's just nerves," Olivia reassured her, brushing a strand of hair behind Sophia's ear. "Everything is going to be just fine, trust me." She leaned down, planting a kiss on her daughter's forehead, and with that she turned, walking towards the altar, the music swelling around them. As Olivia approached Nathan, the guests stood, in awe of the scene, the soft strains of the string quartet filling the air. But Sophia's heart raced for different reasons. She felt a surge of determination. She couldn't let her mother walk into a trap. The words Nathan had spoken echoed in her mind, filled with malice disguised as love. Tomorrow, after she signs, there will be no turning back. Sophia knew she needed to act. She took a deep breath, steeling herself, and darted from her hiding place, her small feet carrying her forward as she burst onto the pathway leading to the altar. "Mama!" she cried out, her voice cutting through the melody like a knife. The guests gasped collectively, turning their attention to the little girl who had just interrupted the sacred moment. Olivia froze, her heart dropping, as she realized the seriousness of the situation. "Sophia, what are you doing?" she hissed, her eyes darting nervously between her daughter and Nathan. "Mama, don't listen to him," Sophia continued, her voice shaking but resolute. "He's lying, he wants to trick you, don't sign anything." Nathan's confident facade faltered for a moment as he turned to Olivia, his expression shifting from surprise to irritation. "Sophia, darling, your mother is just a little stressed. You should be quiet now," he said, his tone patronizing as he attempted to regain control of the situation. "No!" Sophia shouted, defiance lighting up her small face. "I heard him. He's not who you think he is. He was planning something bad." Olivia's heart raced. The whispers of doubt that had lingered at the back of her mind began to surface. She had brushed aside Sophia's warnings as childish fears, but now, as she looked, Into her daughter's frightened eyes, she felt a wave of panic wash over her. "Sophia, please," she pleaded softly. "Let's talk about this later." But the girl was undeterred, her spirit fierce. "No, you need to believe me, Mama. You can't marry him. He's dangerous." The commotion drew the attention of the guests, who whispered among themselves, their expressions shifting from confusion to concern. Ethan Reed, Olivia's best friend and the best man, stood frozen in shock, his heart racing as he processed the scene unfolding before him. He stepped forward, sensing the weight of the moment. "Olivia, wait," he called out, his voice steady but urgent. "Maybe we should listen to her. Sophia has been worried about Nathan for a reason." "Ethan, this is not the time," Olivia snapped, torn between her instinct to protect her daughter and her desire to believe in the man she was about to marry. "Just trust her." Ethan pressed his eyes serious. "I've seen the way Nathan treats you, and it's not right. I've done some digging, and I think there's something more to him than he's letting on." Sophia's heart soared at Ethan's words, but the fear remained. She felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her, and she knew she had to keep going. "Mama, please," she begged, her voice cracking with emotion. "I'm scared. I don't want to lose you." Tears brimmed in Olivia's eyes as she looked between her daughter and Nathan, who was now visibly agitated, his facade of charm slipping. "This is ridiculous," he muttered under his breath, trying to regain control of the crowd. "Sophia, you're just a little girl. You don't understand these things." But Sophia stood her ground, her small body trembling but determined. "I understand enough. You're lying to her and she can't see it." The tension in the air was palpable. Guests shifted uncomfortably, unsure of how to react as the drama unfolded. Olivia's heart raced as she felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Her marriage was at stake, but more importantly, her relationship with her daughter hung in the balance. "Olivia," Nathan said, his voice dripping with faux concern as he tried to regain the upper hand. "You can't let her manipulate you like this. She's just scared of change. We're about to start a beautiful life together, and she's trying to ruin that." "Manipulate," Sophia echoed, her voice rising in defiance. "I'm trying to save you, Mama. He's not who he says he is. I heard him." "Enough," Olivia shouted, her patience finally breaking. She turned to Nathan, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and fear. "Is this true? Are you lying to me?" Nathan's expression darkened, and for the first time Olivia saw a flicker of something sinister in his eyes. "You're letting a child dictate your decisions. This is absurd, Olivia." But before he could say more, Ethan stepped forward. Determination etched on his face. "Olivia, you need to listen to Sophia. I've been looking into Nathan, and there's something seriously wrong. We can't let this continue." The sound of sirens in the distance began to echo through the garden, a sound that sent a ripple of fear through the crowd. Sophia's heart raced. Had she done enough? Would they be able to stop him before it was too late? "Mama, please," she cried again, her little voice filled with desperation. "Don't let him trick you." As the sirens grew louder, Olivia felt her heart pound in her chest. She turned to Sophia, seeing the raw fear in her daughter's eyes, and in that moment, everything clicked into place. The warmth of Nathan's charm faded as she began to see the truth again, the little signs she had ignored. "Stop!" she shouted, the clarity cutting through the chaos. "Nathan, what are you really planning?" Nathan's face twisted into a mask of rage, his calm demeanor cracking. "You'll regret this, Olivia. You think you can just walk away from me? You have no idea what you're doing." The police arrived just as the tension reached its peak, their presence commanding the attention of everyone present. Olivia stood frozen, torn between her daughter and the man who had promised her everything. But in Sophia's eyes she saw the truth, a truth she had almost missed, and that was all she needed. As the officers approached, Olivia took a deep breath, ready to confront the man who had woven a web of lies around her life. She had a choice to make, and for the first time she knew exactly where her loyalty lay. As the chaos of the wedding ceremony began to settle, the once elegant garden now felt like a battleground strewn with the remnants of shattered dreams. Olivia stood at the altar, her heart racing in her chest, while the world around her blurred into a haze. The guests were murmuring, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. She could barely comprehend the words spoken by the police, nor the angry outburst from Nathan, as he tried to regain control over the situation. All she could feel was the weight of betrayal pressing down on her. Sophia stood off to the side, trembling, her small frame seemingly dwarfed by the enormity of what had just unfolded. She watched her mother, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. The little girl felt a whirlwind of emotions, fear, relief, and an overwhelming urge to comfort the woman who had always been her rock. But now, who would be there to support Olivia? Mommy. Sophia's voice trembled as she took a hesitant step toward her mother, who remained fixed in place, staring at Nathan. "Are you okay?" Olivia's gaze flickered down to her daughter, and in that moment the enormity of the situation hit her like a tidal wave. She dropped to her knees, her elegant wedding gown pooling around her like a white sea. "Sophia," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm so sorry, I should have listened to you." Sophia rushed into her mother's arms, wrapping her tiny arms around Olivia's neck. "I was scared, Mommy. I didn't want anything bad to happen to you." "I know, sweetheart, I know," Olivia choked out, holding her daughter tightly. "You saved me, you saved us both." The warmth of Sophia's embrace began to melt the icy grip of fear that had settled in Olivia's chest. Ethan, who had been pacing nervously nearby, approached them cautiously, his heart heavy with the weight of the moment. He had witnessed the entire spectacle, the revelation, the chaos, and now the aftermath, and it pained him to see his best friend in such distress. "Olivia," he said gently, kneeling beside them, "I'm here, we'll get through this together." Olivia looked up at Ethan, her eyes filled with gratitude and sorrow. "How could I have been so blind?" she whispered, shaking her head. "I let him into our lives. I thought he was the answer to my loneliness." Ethan's expression softened. "You were looking for happiness, Liv. We all want that. But sometimes it blinds us to the truth." He turned his gaze to Nathan, who was being led away by the police, still shouting accusations of manipulation and jealousy. "He exploited that, but it doesn't define you." Sophia, still nestled in her mother's embrace, looked up at Ethan with wide, earnest eyes. "He was lying, wasn't he, about everything?" Olivia nodded, her heart aching for her daughter's innocence. "Yes, baby, he was lying." The police had begun to gather evidence from the scene, taking statements from the guests who had witnessed the explosive event. Ethan, wanting to ensure that Olivia and Sophia were safe, glanced around to assess the situation. "Let's get you two away from here for a bit. You shouldn't be in the middle of this." "But my dress," Olivia said, glancing down at the wedding gown that now seemed like a burden instead of a symbol of love. "I can't believe this is how it turned out." "Forget the dress, Liv," Ethan replied firmly. "What matters is that you and Sophia are okay. Let's step away, find a quiet place." As they moved away from the altar, Olivia felt the stares of the guests lingering on her back, their whispers a cacophony of judgment and confusion. She wanted to disappear, to hide from the reality that had unfolded before her. But more than anything, she wanted to protect Sophia from the fallout of Nathan's deceit. They found a secluded corner of the garden, away from the prying eyes and hushed conversations. The air was thick with the scent of wilting flowers, and Olivia sank onto a bench, still clutching her daughter close. "Mommy, I'm so glad you're okay," Sophia said softly, her small voice breaking the silence. "I was really scared. I thought you might marry him and then we'd be in trouble." Olivia's heart ached for her daughter. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I should have listened. You were so brave." Sophia looked up, her innocent eyes shining with determination. "I just wanted to keep you safe. I didn't want to lose you, Mommy. You're all I have." The weight of those words settled over Olivia like a heavy blanket. "You won't lose me, Sophia, I promise. I will always protect you." Ethan sat down beside them, looking between the two, with a mix of admiration and concern. "You both showed incredible strength today. Sophia, you saved your mom's life. That's something to be proud of." "Thank you, Ethan," Olivia said, her voice thick with emotion. "I don't know what I would have done without you. You always have my back." Ethan smiled gently, but there was a seriousness in his eyes. "Just remember, it's not just about trusting others. It's also about trusting yourself. You need to listen to your instincts, Olivia. especially when it comes to those you let into your life. Olivia nodded slowly, feeling the truth of his words resonate deeply within her. She had been so focused on finding companionship that she had ignored the most important relationship in her life, the one with her daughter. "I'll do better, I promise." Sophia squeezed her mother's hand tightly. "I don't want to be scared anymore. Can we just be together, just us?" "Absolutely," Olivia replied, her voice filled with resolve. "Just us. We can take our time and figure things out together." As they sat in the quiet aftermath of the wedding disaster, Olivia felt a sense of clarity begin to emerge from the chaos. She realized that while the path ahead would be uncertain, she had the most important thing by her side, her daughter. The bond they shared was unbreakable, forged through love, trust, and now a shared experience that would shape their future. Ethan watched the two of them, feeling a sense of hope for Olivia and Sophia. He knew that their relationship would only grow stronger from this point on. "You both deserve happiness," he said softly. "Even when things seem dark, remember that there's always light on the other side." Olivia met his gaze, gratitude swelling in her chest. "Thank you for being here, Ethan. I don't know what I'd do without you." As they sat together, the sun began to peek through the clouds, casting a warm glow over the garden. For the first time since the chaos began, Olivia felt a flicker of hope. They had faced a storm together, and although the journey ahead was uncertain, she knew they would navigate it hand in hand just as they always had. The once vibrant mansion stood eerily silent, its grandeur now overshadowed by the remnants of a shattered dream. The sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting long shadows on the floor, illuminating the scattered petals from the wedding that had never truly taken place. Olivia Carter sat alone on the steps of the grand staircase, still clad in her wedding dress, the fabric whispering against her skin as she shifted slightly. The weight of the moment pressed heavily upon her. She felt as if she was wearing not only the dress but also the shackles of her past choices. Sophia, her 7-year-old daughter, entered the foyer with tentative steps, her small figure dwarfed by the expansive space around her. Olivia turned her gaze to the girl whose bright eyes were still wide with a blend of fear and relief. The little girl had faced a nightmare and emerged victorious, and yet she wore a troubled expression that tugged at Olivia's heart. "Mommy." Sophia's voice broke the silence, soft, but filled with an undeniable strength. She approached cautiously, as if afraid to disturb her mother's thoughts. "Are you okay?" Olivia took a deep breath, her heart aching at the sight of her daughter. I'm trying to be, sweetheart," she replied, her voice trembling. "I just can't believe everything that happened." She ran a hand through her hair, pushing back strands that had come loose during the chaos. Sophia climbed the stairs and sat beside her mother, their shoulders brushing against each other. "I was so scared, Mommy, I thought I'd lost you." Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of a child's fear, raw and unfiltered. Olivia wrapped her arms around her daughter, pulling her close. "You saved me, Sophia. You saved us both." Tears brimmed in her eyes, and she could no longer suppress the flood of emotions. "I should have listened to you. I should have trusted you. But you didn't," Sophia said, her tone somber yet filled with the wisdom of someone far beyond her years. "You thought Nathan was a good guy, but I knew he wasn't." She leaned into her mother, the warmth of their embrace a balm for both their wounds. "I was so caught up in my own dreams, my own loneliness," Olivia admitted, guilt spilling from her heart. "I wanted to believe in a fairy tale again. I thought you wanted that too." She pulled back slightly to look into her daughter's eyes. "But I see now that I was wrong. I put us in danger because I ignored your instincts." Sophia shook her head, her curls bouncing slightly. "I just wanted to protect you. You're my mom and I love you. I didn't want anything bad to happen." She paused, her tiny hand resting on Olivia's arm. "You're my everything, you know." Olivia's heart swelled with love and gratitude. "And you're mine. I promise from now on I will listen to you. Your voice matters more than anyone else's." She wiped a tear from her cheek, her resolve hardening. "I won't let anyone, especially not a man like Nathan, come between us again." The sound of footsteps echoed through the hall, pulling their attention to the entrance. Ethan Reed, Olivia's best friend and the one who had stood by her side during the storm, stepped into the light. His expression was a mix of concern and relief as he took in the scene before him. "Hey, is everything okay?" he asked, his voice gentle yet firm. Olivia nodded, her grip on Sophia tightening protectively. We're getting there," she said, forcing a smile, just having a mother-daughter moment. Ethan approached, kneeling down to Sophia's level. "You were really brave today, kiddo. I don't think anyone could have done what you did. You saved your mum's life." He praised, admiration shining in his eyes. Sophia's cheeks flushed. With pride. "I just did what I had to do," she replied, shrugging as if it were the simplest thing in the world. "I knew Nathan was bad." Ethan exchanged a look with Olivia, a silent understanding passing between them. "And you were right. We all should have listened to you," he said, his tone serious but warm. "You have a gift, Sophia. Always trust your instincts." Olivia watched the interaction with a mix of gratitude and admiration for Ethan. He had been her rock through the chaos, his unwavering support a balm for her wounds. "Thank you for being here, Ethan," she said softly, her heart full. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Ethan stood leaning against the banister as he surveyed the mess of the day. "You don't have to thank me. I care about both of you. But we need to talk about what comes next." He took a deep breath, shifting his weight. "Nathan may be in custody now, but this isn't over. He has connections and we need to be careful." Olivia nodded, her mind racing. "You're right. I need to make sure Sophia is safe. I won't let him hurt us again." She felt a surge of protectiveness for her daughter, and the thought of Nathan still lurking in the shadows sent a chill down her spine. "I'll help you," Ethan offered, his voice steady. "We can figure out a plan together. You shouldn't have to go through this alone." Sophia's eyes brightened at the thought. "Can we be a team?" she asked, her youthful enthusiasm shining through despite the weight of their recent ordeal. "Absolutely," Ethan replied, a smile breaking through the tension. "Team Carter Reed. We'll take on the world together." Olivia couldn't help but laugh, the sound a welcome relief amidst the heaviness of the day. "I love it. Team Carter Reed sounds strong." She looked at her daughter, who was now beaming with pride. "And we'll always have each other's backs, right?" "Right," Sophia exclaimed, her spirit unbroken. "We're unstoppable." As they sat together in the remnants of what could have been a romantic wedding, Olivia realized how much stronger she felt with her daughter and Ethan by her side. The love they shared was deeper than any fairy tale, rooted in trust, loyalty, and the courage to face whatever came next. "Let's clean up this mess before we plan our next adventure," Olivia suggested, rising to her feet. "We can't let Nathan ruin our lives any longer." Sophia jumped up, a determined sparkle in her eyes. "I'll help. I can carry the flowers," she declared, moving to pick up the wilted petals scattered across the floor. Ethan chuckled, joining in the effort. "And I'll take care of the decorations. Let's make this place shine again, just like you two." As they worked together, the atmosphere shifted from despair to hope, the laughter of a little girl mixing with the supportive banter of friends. Each petal picked up was a step towards reclaiming their lives. Each moment shared a reminder of the bonds that could not be severed. With every task they tackled, Olivia felt the shadows of doubt and fear slowly lifting, replaced by the warmth of love and the promise of new beginnings. The past was behind them, and while it might leave scars, it would not define their future. Together they would rise stronger than ever before. As the sun began to rise, casting a golden hue over the manicured gardens of the Hale mansion, Carter stood still, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The wedding day she had dreamt of for so long was about to unfold, yet an unsettling weight settled in her stomach. She glanced at her reflection in the ornate mirror, a flawless bride in a stunning white gown, her hair elegantly pinned up with delicate tendrils framing her face. But the image felt foreign. Something was amiss, and she couldn't shake the feeling. "Mommy, can we talk?" Sophia's small voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back to reality. The little girl stood in the doorway, her big brown eyes filled with concern. "Sweetheart, I'm a bit busy right now," Olivia replied, forcing a smile. She was trying to put on a brave face. The last thing she needed was to add her daughter's worries to her own. "Please," Sophia insisted, stepping into the room. I don't like Nathan, I really don't. Olivia knelt to meet her daughter's gaze, brushing a strand of hair behind Sophia's ear. I know this is a big change for you, and it's okay to feel nervous, but Nathan loves us and he's going to be a wonderful stepdad. Sophia shook her head vigorously, her brows furrowed in determination. I overheard him, Mommy. He's not who you think he is. He's lying to you. Olivia felt a sting of irritation mixed with exhaustion. Sophia, you're just scared. Change is hard, I understand. But Nathan is good. He makes me happy. But what if he's not? What if he's bad? Sophia's voice rose in desperation, her small hands balled into fists. You can't trust him. Enough! Olivia snapped the tension of the day spilling over. You need to stop saying things like that. He's going to be your new dad, and I need you to be supportive. Tears brimmed in Sophia's eyes, but she held her ground. I'm not being mean, I'm trying to help you. I love you, Mommy. Olivia sighed, guilt washing over her. She felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, balancing the joy of a new beginning with her daughter's fears. I love you too, sweetheart. Just trust me, okay? Fine, Sophia whispered, turning away, her small shoulders trembling. Olivia watched her leave, a pang of regret twisting in her chest. Deep down, she wanted to believe Nathan was the man he portrayed himself to be, but Sophia's intense fear gnawed at her thoughts. She shook her head, trying to clear her mind, and returned to the preparations. As the wedding ceremony approached, the air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers and the murmur of guests mingling in the garden. Olivia tried to focus on the happiness surrounding her, but the nagging doubts lingered. Olivia, you look stunning. Ethan Reed, her best friend and the best man, approached her with a warm smile, breaking her reverie. Are you ready for the big moment? I should be, she replied, forcing a smile. Everything is perfect, right? Of course Nathan is a good guy. You deserve this happiness, Ethan reassured, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. She wanted to believe him, but as she watched Nathan laughing with guests' charm radiating off him like sunlight, her heart felt heavy. I hope so. Ethan, I really hope so. As the ceremony began, Olivia walked down the aisle, her heart fluttering in her chest. She glanced at Sophia, who stood with her arms crossed, a frown etched on her face. A wave of doubt washed over Olivia, but she pushed it down, focusing on Nathan's smile as he waited for her at the altar. The officiant began to speak, and Olivia's mind drifted. She was lost in a whirlwind of thoughts, remembering the past few years. Her husband's tragic death, the struggles of single motherhood, and finally finding love again. As Nathan spoke his vows, his words wrapped around her like a warm embrace, but somewhere deep inside a voice whispered that all was not as it seemed. Mama. Sophia's voice broke through her reverie again, and Olivia turned to see her daughter, standing at the edge of the aisle, wide-eyed and trembling. Not now, Sophia, she hissed, her nerves fraying. But Sophia stepped forward, her small frame shaking with determination. Mommy, please don't marry him. Gasps echoed through the crowd, and Olivia's heart dropped. She turned to Nathan, who wore a mask of confusion, but there was a flicker of annoyance in his eyes. Sophia, sweetie, this isn't the time, Olivia whispered, her voice low and urgent. Yes, it is. He's lying. He wants to take everything from you, Sophia cried, her voice rising above the murmurs of the guests. Olivia felt her blood run cold. What are you talking about? A flicker of recognition crossed Nathan's face, and he stepped forward, trying to regain control. Sophia, honey, you're just scared of the changes. Everything will be fine. Let's not make a scene. No, Sophia shouted, her resolve unyielding. He's not telling the truth. He's bad. Olivia, listen to the child, Ethan interjected, rushing to her side. There's something off about Nathan. I've seen the signs. The tension in the air thickened, and Olivia's mind raced. Could it be true? Was Nathan really hiding something? She felt torn between her love for her daughter and her commitment to a man she believed to be her future. Enough! Nathan roared, his voice echoing in the garden. This is ridiculous. She's just a child trying to ruin a beautiful day. Mommy, please. You have to believe me. Sophia's voice cracked, and Olivia's heart twisted at the sight of her daughter's fear. With a deep breath, Olivia tried to regain her composure. Nathan, I need to know the truth. Is there something you're not telling me? The guests murmured, the atmosphere shifting as their gazes darted between the trio. Nathan's expression morphed from surprise to anger, his facade cracking under the pressure. "Olivia, you're letting a child manipulate you," he spat, his voice dripping with disdain. "No, Nathan, it's you who's manipulating me." She shot back, her voice steadying. "What's really going on?" "I've done nothing wrong," he replied, his tone defensive. "You're being foolish." "I don't think so," Ethan interjected, stepping forward. "Olivia, I've been looking into Nathan. There are discrepancies in his past, financial troubles, fraudulent activities. You need to see this." "Stop it," Nathan barked, his temper flaring. "This is absurd." The tension escalated, and Olivia felt the weight of the world resting on her shoulders. She looked at Sophia, who stood resolute, her tiny hands clenched, in determination. Olivia realized in this moment that her daughter had seen the truth all along. "Olivia, look at me," Ethan urged gently. "We can't let this man take advantage of you. You deserve better than this." "Mommy, please," Sophia begged, her voice breaking. "I'm scared." With a deep breath, Olivia made her choice. "Nathan, I need you to leave. Now." His face contorted with rage. "You're making a mistake, Olivia. You'll regret this." But she stood firm, her heart racing as she faced him. "No, you're the one making a mistake. I won't let you hurt my daughter or me." At that moment, the sound of sirens pierced the air, and Olivia felt a rush of relief wash over her. The police had arrived, and with them the truth would come to light. As Nathan's anger boiled over, he turned to leave, but the officers stepped forward, blocking his path. "Mr. Hale, you're under investigation for fraud and identity theft." Gasps rose from the crowd, and Olivia felt a surge of triumph and fear. She had chosen to believe in her daughter, and now it was time to uncover the truth. With her heart pounding, she looked at Sophia, who stood tall beside her. "We did this together, sweetheart. We're going to be okay." As the crowd watched, with bated breath, Olivia finally felt the weight of doubt lift from her shoulders. The truth was emerging, and she was ready to face whatever came next, hand in hand with her daughter. As Olivia stood at the altar, a whirlwind of emotions threatened to consume her. The sunlight streamed through the towering trees, casting dappled shadows on the guests who had gathered to witness what was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. She wore a stunning white gown that hugged her figure perfectly, the intricate lacework glimmering under the sun. Her heart raced not with excitement, but with a gnawing sense of unease that had been building since the night before. Sophia's small form was hidden behind a bouquet of flowers, her large brown eyes darting nervously between her mother and Nathan. The man who stood across from Olivia with his charming smile and confident demeanor seemed oblivious to the tension, crackling in the air. But for Sophia, the unease had morphed into something more profound, something that made her stomach churn. She could feel it deep inside her, an instinct that warned her of danger lurking beneath Nathan's polished surface. As the officiant began to speak, Olivia's gaze fell on Nathan. He looked impeccable, dressed in a tailored suit that accentuated his broad shoulders. He was the picture of success and charm, the kind of man society often admired. But Sophia's heart raced for an entirely different reason. She remembered the conversation she had overheard, the chilling words echoing in her mind. "She trusts me. Tomorrow, after she signs, there will be no turning back." "Mama, please." Sophia's voice cut through the air, sharp and desperate. Every eye turned toward the little girl, shock painted on the faces of the guests. Olivia's heart sank. "What are you doing, Sophia?" Olivia hissed, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. She felt Nathan's eyes on her, a mixture of confusion and irritation. "This isn't funny." "Mama, he's lying to you. You can't trust him." Sophia's voice wavered, but it held a fierce determination that Olivia hadn't seen before. The panic in her daughter's eyes was raw, and it pierced through the veil of her own disbelief. "Sweetheart, it's okay," Nathan interjected smoothly, stepping forward with a feigned concern. "She's just a little nervous about the wedding." "Aren't you, Sophia?" His tone was soothing, but it felt like a trap. "No, I'm not nervous. He's a bad man," Sophia shouted, her voice trembling with emotion. The guests murmured among themselves, their expressions shifting from surprise to concern. Olivia felt her heart race. "Sophia, stop it. This isn't the time." She turned to Nathan, who wore a mask of calm, though Olivia could sense the tension coiling beneath his surface. "I'm sorry, Nathan, she's just—" "Just what?" Nathan asked, his voice low and almost threatening. "Just a child who doesn't understand what's happening." Olivia hesitated, glancing back at Sophia, who stood there trembling and wide-eyed. "No, Mama, he's lying, I heard him," Sophia cried, tears welling in her eyes. "Please believe me." The officiant cleared his throat, trying to regain control of the ceremony. "Perhaps we should take a moment—" "No, Sophia," interrupted again, her voice breaking. "You can't marry him, he's going to hurt you." A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd, and Olivia felt her world beginning to unravel. She looked at Nathan, who was now visibly irritated. "Sophia, you need to stop this. You're embarrassing me in front of everyone." "Embarrassing you?" Sophia's voice trembled with disbelief. "Mama, this is about your life, don't you care?" In that moment, as Olivia's heart raced, she felt the weight of the gathered gazes pressing down on her. The whispers and gasps of the guests became a distant hum as she stared at her daughter, who was pleading with her to listen. "Olivia, let's just—" Nathan began, but she held up a hand to silence him, her heart pounding in her chest. "No. No more." Olivia's voice was steady, filled with a clarity that surprised her. "Sophia, what do you mean he's going to hurt me?" "Mama, I found documents in his office. They aren't what you think," Sophia cried, her small hands trembling as she clutched her flowers tighter. "He's lying about everything. He wants to take all of our money and leave us." The crowd gasped collectively, and for the first time Olivia saw the glint of panic in Nathan's eyes. The facade of the charming fiancé began to crack, revealing something darker beneath. "What?" Olivia's voice was barely above a whisper, her heart sinking into her stomach. "What documents? I tried to tell you I tried," Sophia pleaded, her voice cracking with emotion. "Please, Mama, you have to believe me." Olivia felt the room spin. Doubt clawed at her heart, threatening to drown her in a sea of confusion. She glanced at Nathan, who was now shifting uncomfortably, his charm eroded by the weight of Sophia's accusations. "Nathan, what's going on?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Olivia, this is ridiculous," Nathan said, his voice smooth but with an edge of frustration. "She's just a child. You can't take her seriously." "Why not?" Sophia shot back, her eyes blazing with determination. "I'm not just a child. I know what I heard. You're not who you say you are. I think we need to take a step back," the officiant tried to interject. "No." Nathan snapped, his patience wearing thin. "This is all just a childish game. I've done nothing wrong. Look at me, Olivia." Olivia's gaze locked onto his, and for the first time, she felt the weight of the truth pressing down on her. A thick silence enveloped the crowd as she struggled to reconcile the man she had thought she knew with the stranger standing before her. "Olivia," Nathan said, his voice softer now, laced with a false sense of calm. "You can't let a child ruin this day for us. Think about what you're doing." In that moment, something shifted in Olivia. The pieces began to fall into place. Nathan's evasive answers, the way he sidestepped her questions, the slight flicker of annoyance in his eyes at her daughter's outburst. "Let's just go on with the ceremony," he insisted, trying to regain control. "This is a mistake." "Mama." Sophia's voice was urgent, filled with a raw intensity that cut through the tension. "Please don't listen to him, I'm scared." The desperation in Sophia's voice shattered the illusion that had held Olivia captive for so long. With a sense of clarity she hadn't felt in years, she stepped back, her heart racing. I need to know what's true. I can't do this without knowing." Nathan's expression shifted to one of irritation as he realized he was losing control. "Don't be foolish, Olivia. You can't believe a child over me. I am the man you love." "Love?" Olivia echoed, her heart pounding. "Is that what this is, or is it a lie?" The tension in the air was palpable, and Olivia felt the weight of the world pressing down on her. She turned to Sophia, who stood there, vulnerability etched on her small face, but with an unwavering determination that filled Olivia with resolve. "Mommy, please," Sophia murmured, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm scared. I don't want to lose you." Olivia knelt, bringing herself to eye level with her daughter. "You won't lose me, I promise. I'm here." As she held Sophia's gaze, the world around them faded, leaving only the two of them standing amidst the chaos of the wedding. In that moment, Olivia knew what she had to do. She would not let Nathan take away her chance at happiness again. "Get out," Olivia said, her voice firm as she turned to Nathan. "Get out of my life." The crowd gasped once more, and Nathan's eyes widened in shock. "You can't be serious," he stammered, disbelief etched on his face. "I am serious," Olivia declared, her heart finally free of the shackles of doubt. She took a step forward, her gaze unwavering. "I won't let you manipulate me anymore. I see you for who you really are." "Olivia, you're making a mistake," Nathan warned, his voice sharp and menacing. "No, you're the one who made a mistake," she replied, her voice steady and resolute. "You underestimated my daughter's love for me, and that was your downfall." As the reality of her words settled into the air, Olivia felt a weight lift from her shoulders. A sense of clarity and strength surged within her. She had fought for her daughter, and in doing so, she had reclaimed her own power. "Mama," Sophia cried, relief flooding her voice as she rushed into Olivia's arms. With Nathan's facade crumbling around him, he began to back away, realization dawning upon him. "You'll regret this," he spat, venom lacing his words. "Get out," Olivia shouted again, her voice ringing clear and strong. As Nathan turned to leave, the guests were left in stunned silence, the echo of Olivia's declaration hanging heavy in the air. She felt Sophia cling to her tightly, and in that moment their bond forged stronger than ever. Olivia knew that she had fought the good fight. She had listened to Sophia, stood hidden in the shadows, her heart racing as she watched the guests take their seats in the garden. The sun was shining brightly, casting a golden hue over the elegant decorations that adorned the venue. Rows of white chairs were neatly lined up, and pastel flowers created a picturesque backdrop for what was supposed to be the most enchanting day of her mother's life. But for Sophia, it felt like a scene from a nightmare, one she desperately wanted to escape. She peered out from behind a large oak tree, her small hands trembling slightly as she clutched her hidden note. The anxiety coiling in her stomach was matched only by the determination in her heart. She had to warn her mother, Olivia. She had to make her believe that Nathan was not who he claimed to be. As the ceremony began, Sophia's eyes darted around, the crowd landing on her mother, radiant in her wedding dress. Olivia looked breathtaking, her hair styled elegantly, and a smile gracing her lips that made her appear almost ethereal. Yet despite the beauty surrounding her, Sophia felt a chill run down her spine. Nathan stood beside her mother, his smile wide, but something about it felt off, plastic, rehearsed. The way his gaze flickered around the crowd, as if assessing their reactions, sent a shiver through Sophia. "Mama, please," Sophia whispered to herself, her voice barely audible above the soft music playing in the background. "Don't marry him." Just as the officiant prepared to commence the vows, Sophia's heart raced faster. She could feel the weight of her decision pressing down on her. She had no choice but to act. The moment when Olivia and Nathan would exchange vows was approaching, and the very thought of her mother signing away her future stirred a fierce resolve within Sophia. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out from her hiding spot, determination flooding her tiny frame. She squeezed through the crowd, trying to remain inconspicuous, but her heart pounded like a drum. This was it. This was her moment. "Mama!" She shouted, her voice slicing through the serene atmosphere like a knife. All heads turned toward her, and the music came to an abrupt halt. Gasps echoed among the guests as Olivia's eyes widened in shock. "Sophia, what are you doing here?" She exclaimed, a mix of confusion and concern washing over her face. "Mama, don't sign anything. He's lying. He's not who he says he is." Sophia's voice cracked with urgency, each word pouring out like a desperate plea. Nathan stepped forward, his expression shifting from surprise to annoyance. "Sophia, sweetheart, this is just nerves. Your mother is fine. We're all fine," he said, his voice smooth and too calm, as if trying to soothe a frightened child. "Don't listen to him, Mom," Sophia cried, her eyes darting from Nathan to Olivia. "He's bad, I heard him. He's going to trick you." The crowd murmured, the tension palpable as guests exchanged bewildered glances. Olivia's face shifted from shock to anger, and she stepped toward Sophia, trying to regain control of the situation. "Sophia, you need to be quiet. This is a very important day," she said, her voice a mix of frustration and worry. "But, Mom," Sophia's voice trembled and tears began to well in her eyes. "You don't understand. I found papers. He's going to take everything from you. You have to believe me." "Enough," Nathan interjected, his voice rising sharply. "You're scaring her, Sophia. This isn't how a daughter should behave at her mother's wedding." His tone was deceptive, laced with a facade of concern that only fueled Sophia's resolve. Sophia stood her ground, her small frame quivering with emotion. "You're scaring me, Nathan," she shot back, her voice unwavering despite her fear. "You're not going to hurt my mom." Olivia's heart ached at the sight of her daughter torn between her love for Sophia and the overwhelming desire to believe in the man she was about to marry. "Sophia, please," she said, her voice softer now, trying to quell the storm of emotions. "You're just scared of change. Everything is going to be fine." "No, it won't," Sophia cried, desperation painting her words. "I heard him. He was talking about you. About money. He's going to ruin everything." The guests were now fully engaged, whispering among themselves as they absorbed the unfolding drama. Ethan, standing at the edge of the crowd, felt a surge of urgency. He had suspected something was off about Nathan, and now it was clear. He needed to intervene. "Olivia," Ethan called out, making his way through the throng. "We need to talk." "Now, Ethan," Olivia looked at him, confusion flickering in her eyes. "What is happening?" "Sophia is right," Ethan said, urgency lacing his voice. "I've done some digging on Nathan. He's not who you think he is. There are serious allegations against him." Nathan's expression shifted, his charming facade cracking slightly. "Ethan, this is ridiculous," he said, trying to maintain control. "You're just trying to ruin this day." "No, Nathan. I'm trying to protect Olivia and Sophia." Ethan shot back, his eyes narrowing. "I have proof. I didn't want to say anything until after the ceremony, but we can't ignore this." The crowd buzzed with anticipation, eyes flitting between Nathan and Ethan. Olivia felt a wave of confusion wash over her, her heart racing as she fought to reconcile the man she loved with the accusations being thrown around. "Proof?" Nathan scoffed, his smile fading. "What proof? A child's imagination." Sophia stepped closer to her mother, her small hand clutching Olivia's dress. "I'm not imagining anything, Mom. He's a bad man." Before Olivia could respond, Ethan pulled out a folder from his jacket pocket, flipping it open to reveal documents. "These are financial records and emails that link Nathan to fraudulent activities. He's been conning people, Olivia. You were his next target." The atmosphere shifted, a thick tension settling over the guests. Olivia felt her breath hitch in her throat as she absorbed the weight of Ethan's words. "Is this true?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan's eyes flared with anger, and he stepped forward, desperation creeping into his tone. "Olivia, don't listen to them. This is a setup. They're trying to ruin our happiness." "Your happiness," Ethan scoffed. "Your happiness comes at a cost. You're not marrying a man, you're about to sign away your life." The officiant, caught in the chaos, looked from Sophia to Olivia to Nathan, unsure of how to proceed. The guests were now fully captivated, their faces reflecting shock and disbelief. "Mom, please," Sophia urged, her voice breaking. "You have to believe me. You have to listen." As Olivia's gaze shifted from her daughter to Nathan, she felt as if the ground beneath her was crumbling. The man she had trusted, the man who had promised her a future, was unraveling before her eyes. "Nathan," she said, slowly, her voice trembling, "is this true?" For a moment Nathan hesitated, his facade slipping just enough for Olivia to see the truth lurking beneath. "Olivia, this isn't what it looks like," he said, his tone shifting to one of desperation. "I love you. I would never hurt you." "Then why would you lie?" She pressed the tears she had been holding back, finally spilling down her cheeks. "Why would you do this?" With the weight of the crowd pressing down on him, Nathan's composure finally cracked. "You don't understand," he shouted, his voice rising in panic. I was going to take care of you. You don't know what it's like to be alone, to struggle. I was trying to save you. By lying. Olivia replied, her voice steadier, now fueled by the clarity of the situation. By deceiving me. The tension reached a breaking point when the sound of sirens echoed in the distance, growing louder as they approached. Sophia felt a rush of hope surge through her. Maybe they would finally be safe. Mom, please. Sophia begged again, her small hands trembling. Don't let him trick you. Just then the police arrived, their presence commanding the attention of everyone present. Officers stepped forward, their expressions serious as they approached Nathan. Mr. Hale, you're under arrest for fraud and identity theft, one of the officers stated firmly, handcuffing Nathan before he could respond. The crowd gasped, and Olivia felt her legs weaken. No, you can't do this, Nathan shouted, struggling against the officers. This is all a misunderstanding. I love her. The officers led him away as the reality of the situation began to sink in. Olivia stood there, heart racing, trying to process everything that had just unfolded. As Nathan was taken away, Olivia turned to Sophia, her heart filled with a mix of relief and heartbreak. Sophia, she whispered, crouching down to meet her daughter's gaze. You were right, I should have listened to you. Sophia's eyes were wide with fear and uncertainty, but they also shone with a fierce determination. I love you, Mum. I just wanted to keep you safe. I know, sweetheart, Olivia said, pulling her daughter into a tight embrace. You saved me. You saved us both. As the guests began to disperse, whispers filled the air. As the sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the garden, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement and anticipation. The guests, elegantly dressed, mingled beneath the archway of white roses and lilies, their laughter mingling with the soft notes of a string quartet. Olivia Carter stood at the center of it, all radiant in her intricately designed wedding gown, vision of joy and hope. She glanced around, her heart swelling with love for the life she was about to build, with Nathan Hale, the man who had swept her off her feet after years of solitude. But amidst the smiles and well-wishes, a small figure loomed in the background, her gaze piercing through the facade of perfection. Sophia, Olivia's 7-year-old daughter, felt the weight of the moment settle heavily on her shoulders. She stood slightly. Apart from the adults, her small hands clenching the hem of her dress, an uncomfortable tightness in her chest, Sophia's bright blue eyes searched for any sign of danger in Nathan's charming demeanor, a feeling that had been gnawing at her since the first time they had met. Mama, I don't want to do this, she murmured, looking up at Olivia with wide, fearful eyes. Olivia knelt down, smoothing back a strand of Sophia's hair. I know it's a big day, sweetheart, but Nathan loves us both. This is a new beginning for our family, she reassured, her voice laced with the optimism she desperately wanted to feel, even as a shadow of doubt flickered in her mind. Sophia shook her head, her tiny face scrunching up in frustration. But he's not who he says he is. I heard him talking last night. Her voice trembled, the urgency in her words barely contained. Sweetie, I know you're scared about everything changing, but I promise you everything will be okay. Olivia's smile faltered slightly, the tension in her heart tightening. She brushed off her daughter's concerns, attributing them to the natural anxiety of a child facing such a monumental shift. The ceremony began, and Olivia made her way down the aisle, a vision of grace and elegance. As she walked, her heart raced with excitement, her mind filled with dreams of a future filled with love and laughter. But Sophia's eyes remained glued to Nathan, observing him with a scrutiny that belied her age. Every smile he flashed, every tender word he spoke to, Olivia felt rehearsed, calculated. Look at her, she's perfect, Nathan said, his voice dripping with charm as Olivia approached. I can't believe how lucky I am. Yes, you are lucky, Sophia muttered under her breath, watching him with suspicion. She couldn't shake the feeling that behind his smooth exterior lay a man who was anything but trustworthy. As the officiant began to speak, Nathan took Olivia's hands, his grip firm and confident. Do you, Olivia, take Nathan to be your lawfully wedded husband? The words hung in the air, heavy with significance. At that moment, Sophia felt a shiver run down her spine. Without thinking, she bolted forward, her tiny voice breaking through the silence of the crowd. Mom, wait, don't sign anything, he's lying. Gasps erupted from the guests and Olivia's heart sank as she turned sharply to face her daughter. "Sophia, no!" she exclaimed, embarrassment flooding her cheeks. Nathan feigned concern, looking at Olivia with wide, innocent eyes. "She's just scared, Olivia. It's a big day for her, too." "No, it's not just that he's a bad man," Sophia insisted, her voice rising in desperation. "I heard him. He's going to hurt you." The tension was electric, and the congregation was frozen in shock. Olivia felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. Her heart raced as she looked from Nathan's calm visage to Sophia's anxious face. "Sweetheart, this isn't the time," Olivia said, her voice trembling. "You need to trust me." "No, Mama, I can prove it," Sophia shouted, her eyes brimming with tears. "Olivia, let her speak." Ethan, her best friend, called out from the crowd, stepping forward. He had watched the exchange with growing concern, his instincts screaming that something was wrong. "If there's something to say, we need to hear it." Sensing the shift in the crowd, Nathan's expression darkened, and he stepped closer to Olivia, attempting to regain control. "This is just a child's imagination running wild. Let's not make a scene," he suggested, his tone dripping with condescension. But Olivia was torn. The words of her daughter echoed in her mind, and she could feel the weight of the moment, pulling her in two directions. "Sophia, please," she whispered, her voice softer now but still edged with uncertainty. "What do you mean?" Sophia took a deep breath, her small hands shaking, as she pulled out the crumpled note she had hidden in her dress. "I found this in his office. It's proof he's been lying about everything." With a trembling hand, she unfolded the note and held it aloft for everyone to see. "This is what he's planning. He's going to steal your money and leave us." Gasps echoed through the crowd again, and Nathan's face paled, his facade cracking under the pressure. "This is ridiculous," he shouted, his calmness slipping away. "You're just a child, you don't understand." But Olivia's heart raced as she looked at the note, then back at Sophia. "Is this true, Nathan? What's going on?" "Olivia, don't listen to her. She's just a confused little girl," Nathan hissed, desperation creeping into his voice. "No!" Olivia shouted suddenly, her voice rising above the chaos. "I want to hear from her. If you're telling the truth, then you have nothing to worry about." The crowd murmured, the tension palpable. Ethan moved closer, positioning himself protectively by Olivia's side, ready to back her up. "Let's just think about this," he urged. "If there's any truth to what Sophia is saying, we can't just ignore it." Reluctantly, Nathan's charming demeanor began to fade, revealing a glimpse of the man Sophia had seen all along. His eyes darted around the crowd, searching for a way to regain control. "Olivia, don't do this," he pleaded, desperation clawing at his voice. "You know I love you, you can trust me." But Olivia's heart was pounding, and as she looked down at her daughter, she saw the determination in Sophia's eyes. "I want to believe you, Nathan, but I can't ignore what she's saying. I need to know the truth." Sophia stepped forward, her small voice unwavering. "He was talking about how he would take everything from you, Mama. I heard him. He doesn't love you, he just wants your money." The silence that followed was deafening. Nathan's expression shifted to one of anger, mixed with panic, realizing his carefully constructed facade was crumbling before him. "Enough!" he shouted, his voice filled with fury. "You're just a child, you don't know what you're talking about." Olivia felt a wave of clarity wash over her, the fog of doubt lifting as she looked at Nathan. "I trusted you," she whispered, her heart breaking. "How could you do this?" Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "I know you've been hiding something, Nathan. We need to call the police." "No." Nathan's voice rose in desperation, his eyes darting between Olivia and the guests. "You can't do this. You'll regret it." But the crowd had begun to stir, murmurs of disbelief rippling through the guests. Olivia felt a sense of empowerment, bolstered by her daughter's bravery. "I have to protect my child," she said firmly, her voice steady. "You've shown me who you really are." Just as the tension reached its peak, the sound of sirens pierced through the air, drawing closer to the scene. Nathan's face twisted in rage, realizing there was no escape. "You'll pay for this," he spat, his voice dripping with venom. As the police entered the garden, Olivia felt a strange sense of relief wash over her. She knew she was finally standing on the right side of the truth. and her heart swelled with pride as she glanced down at Sophia, who stood beside her resolute and brave. "Let's get this over with," she said, her voice steady. "The truth always comes to light." In that moment, amidst the chaos and confusion, Olivia knew that no matter what happened next, she had made the right choice. The love she shared with her daughter would always be their strongest bond, and together they would face whatever came next. The sun shone brightly in the sky, casting a warm glow over the lush gardens of the Hale mansion. Guests mingled, laughing and chatting, the air filled with the scent of fresh flowers and the soft strains of a string quartet playing in the background. Olivia Carter, dressed in a stunning white gown that hugged her figure perfectly, felt a surge of excitement mixed with a tinge of anxiety. This was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, a day she had dreamed of for so long. Yet as she walked down the aisle, accompanied by her thoughts of Nathan Hale, a nagging voice in the back of her mind whispered that something was amiss. Sophia, hidden away behind a large potted plant near the altar, watched her mother with wide eyes. She could see the joy on Olivia's face, but her heart felt heavy. Nathan stood at the altar, handsome and confident, but to Sophia he felt like a wolf in sheep's clothing. She remembered the conversations she had overheard, the sinister undertones in Nathan's voice as he plotted against the very woman who loved him. Her small hands trembled as she clutched a crumpled note that she had hidden in the folds of Olivia's wedding dress, her last hope to save her mother. As the ceremony commenced, the officiant, a kindly old man with a gentle disposition, welcomed everyone and began the traditional vows. Olivia stood before Nathan, her heart racing with anticipation. "Do you, Nathan, take Olivia to be your lawfully wedded wife?" the officiant asked, his voice resonating through the garden. But just as Nathan opened his mouth to respond, a small voice pierced through the air, breaking the spell of the moment. "Mommy, don't sign anything, he's lying." Sophia's voice rang out, filled with desperation. All eyes turned to her, the joyous atmosphere instantly shattering into shock and confusion. Olivia felt her stomach drop as she turned to see her daughter standing there wide-eyed and trembling. "Sophia," she gasped, her heart racing for an entirely different reason now. "What are you doing?" But Sophia, undeterred, took a step closer to the altar, her voice shaking but full of determination. "He's not who he says he is. I heard him talking. He wants to trick you." The murmurs among the guests began to grow, oscillating between disbelief and intrigue. Nathan's charming facade cracked for just a moment, revealing a flash of irritation. "Sophia, sweetheart, this is just nerves. Your mom and I are very happy together. You need to calm down," he said, his tone too smooth, too practiced. "No, you're lying," Sophia insisted, her eyes narrowing as she pointed an accusing finger at Nathan. "You're a bad man." The officiant, sensing the tension, cleared his throat. Perhaps we should take a moment." "No, I won't let you marry him." Sophia interrupted, her voice rising higher as she fought back tears. "Mommy, please listen to me." Olivia's heart broke at the sight of her daughter's distress. She turned back to Nathan, whose face was now a mask of anger and frustration. "Olivia, this is ridiculous. She's just a child scared of change." "You know I love you," he said, attempting to regain control of the situation. Ethan Reed, standing among the guests, watched the unfolding drama with a growing sense of dread. He had spent the last few days digging into Nathan's life, and everything he had found painted a picture too dark to ignore. As he stepped forward, he locked eyes with Olivia, willing her to see the truth. "Olivia, you need to listen to Sophia," he said firmly, his voice cutting through the chaos. "There's something very wrong here." "What are you talking about?" Olivia snapped, torn between the two most important people in her life. "This is our wedding day." "Exactly. And I think you're about to make a huge mistake," Ethan urged, desperation creeping into his voice. "I've been looking into Nathan. There are things you don't know." Nathan's patience snapped. "Enough of this," he shouted, his charming demeanor dissolving completely. "You're just trying to ruin our happiness because you're jealous, Ethan. You've always had feelings for Olivia, and you can't stand to see her with someone else." Ethan shook his head, his expression unwavering. "This isn't about me, Nathan. This is about protecting Olivia and Sophia. I have proof of what you've been doing." "Proof?" Nathan laughed, a bitter sound that echoed in the garden. What proof a child's imagination you're grasping at straws? But Sophia, who had been listening intently, suddenly recalled the crumpled note she had hidden in Olivia's dress. Summoning her courage, she exclaimed, "I have proof too. I found documents in your office. You were going to take all of Mommy's money." The gasps of the guests filled the air, a collective wave of shock washing over them. Olivia's heart raced as she turned to Sophia. Confusion and fear etched on her face. "Sophia, what are you talking about? I saw him. He was talking about how after you signed the papers he would make you disappear with all your money," Sophia cried, her voice breaking. Nathan's expression shifted from anger to panic as he realized the gravity of the situation. "You're just a little girl, you don't understand what you're saying," he spat, trying to regain his composure. But it was too late. The tension escalated, and Ethan stepped forward, producing his phone. "I called the police earlier. They're on their way," he announced, his eyes locked onto Nathan's. "You can't keep lying, Nathan. The truth is coming out." With a flicker of fear in his eyes, Nathan attempted to backtrack. "This is all a misunderstanding. Sophia is just confused, Olivia. You trust me, don't you?" "Do I?" Olivia felt torn apart by the conflicting emotions swirling within her. She had built a life with Nathan, but now as she looked at her daughter, and then at Ethan, the truth began to crystallize. Before she could speak, the sound of sirens echoed in the distance, growing louder as they approached. Nathan's face went pale, and in that moment, he realized his carefully constructed facade was crumbling. "I'm not going to let you ruin my life," he yelled, his voice rising in pitch. He took a step backward, his eyes darting around as he searched for an escape. The officiant raised his hands, trying to maintain order. "Please, everyone stay calm. The police will sort this out." As the first police officers arrived, Nathan's demeanor shifted from arrogance to desperation. He turned to Olivia, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Olivia, please don't listen to them. We can fix this. Just come with me." But Olivia stood firm, her heart pounding. She could feel the weight of her daughter's gaze on her, filled with trust and hope. "No, Nathan. I won't be manipulated anymore. I see the truth now," she said, her voice steady and resolute. The police officers moved in surrounding Nathan. "Nathan Hale, you are under arrest for fraud and conspiracy," one of them declared, pulling out handcuffs. "No, this is a mistake," Nathan protested, but it was too late. The officers secured his wrists and began to lead him away. As he was escorted past Olivia and Sophia, he shot one last venomous glare at them. "You'll regret this," he spat, but Olivia felt a surge of relief wash over her, as if a heavy weight had been lifted from her shoulders. "Mommy, I did it, I saved you," Sophia exclaimed, rushing into Olivia's arms. Tears of gratitude filled Olivia's eyes as she hugged her daughter tightly. "You did, sweetheart. You were so brave," she whispered, her heart swelling with pride. Ethan stepped forward, a soft smile on his face. "You both are incredible. I'm so glad you're okay." Olivia looked up at him, her heart racing for a different reason now. "Thank you, Ethan. I was so blind and I almost lost everything." He shook his head, his expression earnest. "You didn't lose anything. You found the truth, and that's what matters." As the police took Nathan away, Olivia felt a sense of closure beginning to bloom within her. She had faced a nightmare, but with her daughter and Ethan by her side, she had emerged stronger than ever. "Let's go home," Olivia said, taking Sophia's hand, feeling the warmth of her daughter's small fingers intertwining with hers. Together, they stepped away from the altar, leaving the chaos behind, ready to embrace a new beginning.